All right, we should be live. Perfect. So hello, everybody. I'm Lynn from Masami and the Power Beauty Club, and I'm back with Dr. Ebru, and we're covering some topics that we just thought were really relevant and interesting to anyone who's
All right, we should be live. Perfect.
So hello, everybody. I'm Lynn. There we go. Sorry. Rookie move, rookie move. Forgot to mute it. Okay, so we wanted to just talk about topics that anyone who's in beauty, following beauty, you might be wondering some of these same things. And the topic we wanted to talk about is dupe culture, which has gotten a lot of noise, news, press, lawsuits over the last year. And it just seems like it's not going away. And let's see what Dr. Ebru thinks about this whole phenomenon.
We had dupes before,
Yeah,
and there was a publication journalist, I think, from UK who compared La Mer, the famous La Mer cream, to the Nivea cream, and basically they're the same, nearly,
yeah.
except on that famous uh wavelength treated algae extract. Don't get me even started. We'll do another one on that one later. But except in that. So the dupe culture was around, since 80s and 90s. However, it was kept hush hush. People were like, and most of the influencers were saying, oh, this is, I think, the dupe of this, and then Elf came out and it was creating all this very similar looking products. And then in the fashion world, we also saw it with Zara,
Yeah,
copying bigger brands and stuff. So the dupe culture has been around. However, now, these days, have been very blatantly open. I mean, we talked about transparency, but sometimes too much transparency is too much, right? So, um, one of the things that's going on is Sol de Janeiro and suing MacCo Beauty. I think that's going on right now. So MacCo Beauty is coming up with several products that resembles the very best-selling products of very famous brands. I think one of them is also Charlotte Tilbury. And at one point, one of the famous markets, I don't remember which one it was, if it was Little or the other one, came up with a similar product like Charlotte Tilbury, and she sued them and she won. However, in this case, Sol de Janeiro versus MacCo Beauty, it's a very hard case, it looks like. I'm not an attorney, but even Sol de Janeiro wins, the enforcement across the country, like industry, will be very challenging and very hard. So that makes you think, is this a better thing? And how much is it really a dupe? I mean, because when you look at the formula, it may look similar, but is it going to show the same effect? That's a good question, you know?
that's a very good question because one of the things that you know very well is that, really effective ingredients are not cheap. And the dupes, the whole intent is to give a cheap option to the premium version. Now, there is a healthy margin built into the premium versions. However, having said that, as founders, you and I, of premium brands, we can say that a lot of our costs go into the formulas. um, our formulas are unfortunately way more expensive than formulas that you're going to get at a mass store or a drugstore or whatnot. So the dupe may feel similar. It may have a similar texture. It may have a similar smell, but you're right. Like, does it actually gonna perform? And I think it depends on what the dupe is doing. Like, is it duping a product that has some kind of clear benefit that is a visible, noticeable difference? Or is it more of a sensorial feel-good product or a makeup brand where, okay, the lipstick looks basically the same on me, it's fine. You know what I mean? So I think there's different levels of, I think though, from a brand perspective, I would be super irritated if somebody, you know, tried to rip off my brand. Now, we're so small that have at it, you know? But for the big brands who spent years and money and effort building up their loyalty to have some who knows what come along and essentially rip off their IP, their colors, their imagery, their logo fonts, their everything to look. That I think is the difference between the older dupes, which didn't try to look identical. The new dupes, I feel like, look so similar that if you're not a very savvy consumer, and I shouldn't even say it that way, the reality is we all have attention spans of goldfish. So even a savvy consumer can get duped. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
can get fooled.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Let's say X company is duping a big company's bestseller skincare product. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's say that skincare product is $500. Okay. So first of all, why is that 500? Is there science in it? Is there really unique ingredients in it? Because, and if they are using it at the concentration that's supposed to be used, like say 3% to 5%, most of the peptides are, that makes it more expensive, right? So there is the cost there. However, a brand comes in and copies it and sells that product for $20, it makes me think for that company, the duping company, to sell a $500, let's say, anti-aging cream at $20, either they need to buy the main active ingredient in huge bulk so they
Yeah.
can get a discount, or they don't put at the concentration that's supposed to work, and they're just gonna sprinkle it like salt this formula and you have it. Or how do you know they really have it in there, right? I mean,
Or
they
the
can list
quality
it.
of it, right? There's very different
Exactly.
qualities of ingredients.
So I understand it's an instant gratification saying, okay, I can't buy Charlotte Tilbury foundation, but I found a similar and I'm buying that. But that's instant gratification. I understand that. However, you're not doing yourself a service, you're doing yourself a disservice by buying a questionable product where you don't know who made this, how did they do it, does it really have the stuff, is it really performing like that? So it makes you question.
Well, and I think where it really does get annoying for the larger brand is that dupe is borrowing off of all the equity from the big brand, meaning people love that formula. So there's a dupe, they immediately associate it with, oh, it's going to be like that. They don't do the due diligence to look at all the ingredient lists to see if it's actually the same, to see if the concentration of the ingredients is the same, all the things you're pointing out. And so once again, the dupe is riding the coattails of all the work this other brand has done to establish themselves and to build a loyal customer following. And they're trying to just steal all those customers, by giving them a cheaper version, which may or may not be better. Now, having said that, I do think there are some products where maybe they could rethink their pricing. If it's a $500 cream and it costs them $20 to make, like, do they really need that kind of margin? Could they make it a little more accessible for consumers? But that's a choice in terms of positioning too. Some
Mhm.
brands want that exclusivity. They want to have a high touch luxe positioning, and price is one of the easiest cues for consumers to get that. So it's a tricky one, but I will be curious to see what happens with the lawsuit. I do not want the dupes to win because then we're all at risk, you
Well,
know?
that's the bad thing about it. I think Macco Beauty is getting into Target. That's I saw it on the side of my eye.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right.
I mean, I understand the consumer side of things, the consumer wants it. Of course, they're gonna sell it. However, that's gonna hurt them also in the long run because the brands are gonna be like, okay, you're selling dupes, it's cheaper. We'll pull out because you're not selling me anymore. So
Right.
that's the brand side. But the customer, it's gonna hurt the customer in the long run. Because again, we don't know the quality of these products. They may look alike, but do they function a lot? Do they have the same scientific studies or the, dermatological safety data? We know nothing about that, And having an established brand comes with also the trust factor, right? Like La
Yeah,
Mer, you know who is behind, or an Indie Beauty, you know who is behind. The founder is out there, but then you have a Duke company who's saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna pick up from these guys because they did this so good, and I'm gonna copy it." I mean, if we did that at school, what would your mom say? Oh my God, mine would be on
exactly.
my face.
And also, we don't know if it ethically sourced.
Yes.
Where are those ingredients from? Are they infused with pesticides and other things? Like there's a lot of questions. And um, I would say stick with the original. That would be my advice. It's
Oh yeah.
tempting to go for the dupe, but
Stick to your
try to
skin.
resist. So if anyone has thoughts on this, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear. We are happy to do another discussion if there's something you'd like us to cover, but let us know your thoughts. Do you like dupes? Do you not like dupes? Are there some that you think are worthy and some that aren't? Let us know.